Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Hey there, this is Ralph Hayes Jr., RHJunior, reality chick coming to you live over the internet through the system of tubes known as the boob tube of YouTube, bringing you another broadcast, another day, another afternoon, another random spastic broadcast of my little program I like to call Spleen Squeezins. Dum 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 dum. Hey there, hi there, ho there, everybody. How you doing? It's Ralph Hayes Jr. I'm bringing you back. I'm bringing back the groove. Okay, let's sort of fade that out into the background. That gets old and tired after a while. Found a new sound generator. I got tired of the rainy crap, so I got space. Space. Don't know if you can hear it or not. I don't know if you can hear it. Tell me if you can hear it, because the audio balance on this OBS system is like crap. I can't tell if I just can't tell nothing that's going on correctly. In there for the really really big shoe, the really fantastic fabulous shoe known as the Spleen Squeezins. I was originally going to call it Colon Blow, but just didn't go get past the reviewers. Colon Blow. It's a cereal that's 110% fiber. You don't forget the fiber thing. You don't go, it's fruit and you go, it's fiber. It's fiber. Oh Lord, it's fiber. Ah, dogs dying in the living room. Okay, pet canary keeling over in its cage. All right. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I never know what I'm doing. If I knew what I was doing, I would not be in the situation. I would not be living the life I am if I had a clue what I was doing. If I knew what I was doing, if I had the virtue to be doing what I'm doing better. Now, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do next. I do not know. Okay, let's see. 134. I'm eating a candy bar. Shouldn't be eating a candy bar. Shouldn't be touching a candy bar. My day is full of things I should not be doing. Routinely. Scratch it up to the fact that if I quit doing all the things that I allegedly am not supposed to be doing, I should not be doing, I'd be a potted plant. I have successfully managed to do absolutely nothing this entire week. Explain to me. I am pumping. I'm not happy with you. I'm never happy with YouTube. Once again, the live stream is the stream health. Stream health. You know, they're the ones with all the computers and shit. They're the ones with who maintain the wires and the servers and the connectors and the ticky boo diddly computer stuff, right? Yet somehow it's my fault that the ISP is sucks. What am I supposed to do? Get out and push? Really? Hmm. You have to excuse me. I'm chewing a candy bar right now. Explain to me, what have they changed? What have they changed in candy bars that you cannot set one out in a room that is room temperature when it starts melting? I think this is how they disguise the fact that it's substandard chocolate. Really, I do. Because I know for a fact that you can make chocolate that will not melt out in the Sahara Desert. Our troops carried it during Desert Storm. In fact, they had surplus. They sold it back home. Desert chocolate, used by our troops. I know it's largely a matter of, I believe, how much cornstarch they add, or couple other things. But just by changing the recipe a little bit, uh, they make the chocolate, more melty, and that would pass as most chocolate. Let's put it this way: I've tasted American chocolates, and I've tasted chocolates from Europe. I've tasted, the stuff that, this isn't gourmet chocolate over in Europe. This is stuff you buy off the counter at the drugstore, and it's still higher quality than the stuff we sell here in America. There's no lying, I'm sorry, Hershey, I love you, you're the man, but you off your game. You've been off your game for a while. You gotta work at it. You gotta get out there. You gotta get out there and fight for it. You want to be the number one chocolate in the world? Be the number one chocolate in the world. Don't be the number one advertiser in the world. Be the number one chocolate. I mean, I used to work as giving out samples of stuff for various companies, and one day they gave me some Milka chocolate to sample out to people. I had a couple of teenage girls, apparently they'd gone on one of those European school trips. And they come to me. I swear, I thought the girl was going to have a religious experience. Because you go, oh, it's Milka. Oh, I told you about this stuff. Oh. I'm like, holy crap. I know chocolate's good for women, but man, it's kind of scary. America, they instead of making better chocolate, they like add sawdust to the recipe and double down on their advertising. Look at this. This is not. It is not even 70 degrees in my room, and this Snickers bar is melting all over the place. And that's not normal. They're supposed to be able to set them out on a shelf at a store so that they can be bought later, right? Okay, look. Okay, we got two people on the channel. One of them's me. Now, whoever you are that's listening in, please, this is something I repeat with everybody who comes by. And every show I do this. And every show we have to go through it again. Okay, if you're watching, please type hello in the chat channel. I can't see who's watching. And, I need feedback lest I die. Seriously, this is... I think maybe they just cut back on the preservatives so it's, oh, look how it melts in your hands. It's so gooey. It's so good. Yeah. No, it didn't. It's a corn syrup stick. Oh, you sampled a soda from France that tasted like prickly pears. Yeah. I once sampled. This is an odd thing. There was a little Indian store, little Indian store in Charleston, West Virginia, where I live there. It was on the way to work. It was just a little storefront shop, one of the little quickie shops, and they sold goods from India. And just out of curiosity, I tried. They had rose flavored milk. Like you have chocolate or strawberry milk, they have rose flavored milk. And I bought a carton of it, a little small carton, for lunch that day at work. I have never regretted something so badly, because I said, I think I shared it with a friend of mine. We sat there and, it was like it was like I had snorted rose perfume. It was like the fumes were just, it didn't taste too bad at first, but man, the smell is, it's like it's eating into my brain. And I spent the whole day feeling like I had an entire bottle of rose perfumes stuffed up my nose. It was bad. I tried a couple other things at the store, and I quit going there because I figured I'd expanded my horizons enough. It says something that eating at a Chinese restaurant is my idea of exotic dining. Even then, I don't wander too far afield. There. I've officially consumed enough calories for someone 3 times my size. Soon I will be 3 times my size. You'll have to excuse me, I got caramel in my teeth. Can you hear the background sounds? I'd like to know if you can you hear the ambiance sound effects? Now, speaking of trying food, there's a channel here on YouTube. It's called the Try Channel. The Try Channel, and one of their regular features, they have a bunch of Irish people, who try different foods and drinks and stuff from around the world. And sometimes it is absolutely hilarious to watch. I think the highlight of the show was the one where they were trying different burgers from around America, and they brought in a broccoli burger from some hippy dippy restaurant in San Francisco as one of the things they sampled. And I like to split a gut. One of the guys tasted it. He said, "It tastes like a floor mat." I thought I was going to crap myself right there. Strangely enough, no Irish person there liked root beer, American root beer. They hated it. They didn't like root beer floats either. Go figure. It's interesting differences in taste, I suppose. I just find it fascinating that no person that tried it liked American root beer. They loved our barbecue. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, American barbecue. You can't hear anything in the background? How about now? You should be making woogly, woogly, woogly sci-fi noises. Tell me when you start hearing something. It's made to sound like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. Hmm. I'm not happy. In fact, I'm kind of jittery. Somebody say, here, hold on a minute. That staticky sound is annoying. I'll turn that down. Interferences, they call it. Okay, there we go. All right. Can you hear anything in the background now? How about now? How? Do you hear anything? How about now? How about now? No, 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 no. No love. No answers. Oh, my butt. I did not get anything. It's been kind of a stressful week. The lawnmower people showed up. This time they took me 200. They took me for $250 to mow my lawn. 250. Pardon me, 260. It's not surprising though. I mean, I wasted all that time trying to find somebody closer and cheaper. I tried to find somebody closer and cheaper, and I spent months. The grass, I didn't have grass. I had a savanna. I had I had weeds and stuff growing out back that were like 4 or 5 feet tall. Okay, so yeah, I knew they were going to hit me up hard, but I didn't expect them to hit me up another extra. It was I expected them to hit me up for at most, 150, $200, but they went the extra mile and hit me for another 250. They hit, the going rate was about $50, so they hit me up for $200 more just to hack the lawn down to a civilized level. And I'm sort of boned when it comes to finding anybody else who'll do the job. Everybody around here's got a mower, keeps a lawnmower. I can't. I corner my neighbors. I say, "I'll pay you to mow my lawn," and they're like, "No, no, no. I ain't got time for that. Ain't got time for that." You still can't hear nothing. There's nothing I can do to fix that. You still cannot hear the spooky sounds. Properties. Testing, testing, 1 2 3. Testing, testing, 1 2 3. Testing, testing, 1 2 3. Can you hear it now? Okay, yeah. I have no idea why. I just fiddled with the settings. Fiddled with them. Didn't even know what I was doing. Hate it when it does crap like that. I swear, the computer says, okay, he's used to the settings. Let's change everything in the middle of the night. Alright, that's better. Yay. Yay. So exciting. I haven't gotten anything done this week. I haven't. Except getting my lawn mowed and getting socked for $260. In case you haven't guessed, I'm trying to pass the hat too. Because I had to send my rent late, and I had to send half of it, my lot rent, because the lawn guy took it all. My next scheduled mowing is on the 18th. I'm going to have to push that back to like the 4th of July. Great slobberknockers. Uh, there's let's see. I'm delaying till somebody else shows up in channel. That's what I'm doing. I can't put on a performance before one person. I'm like that guy that does the performance in the movies. He stands up on stage, thank you all for coming, and there's one person in the entire room. Clap, clap, clap. Yeah. Okay, what am I looking for? I was looking for something, and I started looking for it, and then I promptly forgot what it is I was looking for. Oh, by the way, I haven't gotten a new. I got the thermal paste, and clean. Scraped off the old. Scraped off what was left of the old junk. Daubed on the new, sealed everything back up, and I can't tell for sure, but it seems to be right. It may be my imagination, but it seems to be running better. I don't know. I'd have to pull up all sort of meters and analytical whatevers and stare at them like I knew what I was looking at. to be sure. Let's see. What was I? What was? I've forgotten what I was trying to do. Okay. Okay. Facebook. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Daniel Meyer is getting shafted by his company's medical insurance. He's, he had, basically they get around that thing where all medical testing has to be voluntary. All medical examinations have to be voluntary. You have to sign this paper saying it's voluntary or you're fired. That's what his company's doing. There's got to be a special roasting spit in hell for these people. I swear there's got to be. They're doing all sorts of blood tests on him. He's required to volunteer for, quote unquote, or lose his job, money, or insurance. I'm like, dude, at this point, I'm tempted to ask Daniel, why are you not? Please tell me that you're looking for another job somewhere else. Their retirement package cannot possibly be good enough to put up with the crap he has to put up with. And place your bets on how fast they're going to try and screw him out of his retirement. When he finally does retire. What is this essential oil crap that everybody's talking about these days? They're talking about essential oils as if they're a substitute for vaccines and asthma medicine and crap. There's just reading an article here. There's some guy working an ER. Car pulled up with an unresponsive kid. They tubed him, coded him for a good hour, never got him back. His mom had stopped his asthma meds and was giving him essential oils. Oy. One poor guy, oh, this is cute. An entire YouTube channel has been banned for hate speech today. Apparently, instrumental electronic music is hate speech now. Look, okay. Facebook is a privately owned company. YouTube is a privately owned company. But the problem is that Facebook, YouTube, and Google all want the privileges of both being a open free speech platform and the protections of being a private company. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They don't want, they want to control what goes out on their service, but they don't want to be held accountable for it. In fact, that's what they lobbied for initially when the internet first opened up, is that they wanted, we want to be protected from being sued because, we put up this some other person used our service to put up this website. We don't want to be sued for it, so we want to be treated like we're, just a public platform. And everybody said, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea," and they have taken that and they have abused it ever since, because they have all the protections of that platform, of being an open platform for the public, and yet they have, they abuse it to censor and silence those that, whatever, bobbleheaded bunhead is in their CEO office this week. What are, they'll shut down anybody that offends the man-bunned, toucan-haired, ring-nosed social justice warriors running their company. They've effectively got a monopoly on internet communication, and the damned well know it. And they are abusing the bejesus out of it, just like every other. But let's not kid ourselves. Every company, every corporation, any organization of human beings given power will corrupt, or rather, will attract the corrupt. You know that old saying, "Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." That's not quite true. What it is that power attracts the corrupted and the corruptible. It isn't the power that corrupted them. They were already raring to go before they came in the front door. So that, let's be truthful about ourselves. All right, all right, all right, all right. And my main electric heater for my house, it's actually a garage heater. I used to, it's an electric heater. That's burned out too. It burned out about a week ago. It just up and just will not turn on anymore. So sometime between now and winter, I have got to track down some sort of home heating system, or I will, freeze. Yeah, on top of all the other things I've got to chuck money at. Roof sprung a leak. It's just all good news up and down the pipe. Oh, check this out. There's a law in Montana that if a student rides a horse to school, the principal has to feed, water, and walk the horse. 6 seniors who were aware of this law rode their horses on the last day of school. The principal did his duty and took care of their horses. But oh man, yeah, there's the photograph. 6 horses tied up in the front yard of a school. That's awesome. Senior prank, man. Did it legal too. Oh, another Publishers Clearinghouse ad. Win 25,000 a month for life. Yeah, if you're, I tried to apply to a Publishers Clearinghouse once. You spend the better part of a day waiting to here. Click on this. 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 You probably have to spend 25,000 a month on all their special deals just to be considered for the lotto. You can say, no, I don't want to buy anything. No, I don't want to buy anything. No, I don't want to buy anything. And they just give you another thing that you have to fill out. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I'm just scanning down through Facebook, see if anything, scanning through the articles, seeing if there's anything new to talk about here. I'm sorry, I haven't updated anything. I haven't. Aw. Apparently, the new Avengers movie is, quote, woke. Well, you know what to avoid this week. Holy crap. Look at this, folks. Look at it. Look at this. I'm gonna switch the camera over here. Mm-hmm. 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 Look at that. You see that video right there? Good night. That is her pet bunny. Look at that thing. She could put that thing on she could put a saddle on that thing and ride it around the neighborhood. Good grief. The thing started bringing the kid Easter eggs, and ostriches in the neighborhood are mad. Good gravy. Mercy, mercy, mercy me. I'm trying. The wall is still going up. the We Build the Wall program. They've covered. Let's see. They've covered quite a stretch already. It's a steel fence actually. If you can call things with several inches wide bars a fence, and setting a concrete foundation. They're covering a lot of territory. Okay. I'm looking through this. I'm just trying to. Oh my. All right. Kangaroo jerky. Oh my. Eh, if you can get it to hold still enough to go into the dryer, you can make jerky out of it. Oak jerky, yum yum. All right, let me get let's get the art program running. No, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. In case you're wondering, I'm using I'm using a sound effect ambiance thing from mynoise.net / noise machines. He's got several different noise makers, and this one is the Enterprise background sound effects thing. Needs a randomizer, I think. It gets too uniform after a while, too repetitive. And okay, where's the crap? Got all sorts of neat ones here. Anyway. Excuse me. Lately, I feel just defeated. I do. Uh, I was given the task of being a man, and I was not up to the task. And now I've reached a point where my body is giving out on me. The shelter I depend, my vehicle is given out on me. My shelter is given out on me, and I am just not up. I just am not up to it. I'm just not up to dealing with it all anymore. I'm exhausted, and I'm always exhausted, and it's all it's going to take to do me incomplete is one more disaster, one more. It won't even be a big disaster. It'll be something small, and it'll be just one too many things to deal with at once, and it'll kill me. The thing that kills me the most is the possibility that I could end up dependent on the rest of my family. And my family can't take care of me. They already spent too much effort taking care of me already. All the times I've ended back up on their doorstep. Uh, I missed several steps. This is what, this is one of the reasons that people go out, they get married, they have kids, in hopes that, when the time comes, that they'll have somebody to care for them in their old age, and when I couldn't provide for my I couldn't even I couldn't even provide my parents lunch. They're in their 70s, and if things went dire, it would have to be my sister and her family that stepped up. If I am at a loss as what I'm going to do when the time comes when my parents finally pass away. I couldn't even attend the funeral. I couldn't. I can't fit into a vehicle because of the deformity. Because I'm overweight and the deformity in my legs. I don't even have clothes to wear. My entire wardrobe consists of hospital gowns and a bathrobe. I can't even put on shoes. My feet are my feet and my legs are so swollen, and I can't even do that for my family, for my parents, for anybody that I can't. There was a time years ago we had a family crisis, and uh, I frankly had nothing, but I could at least be there. They the church raised uh, enough money to buy me a Greyhound ticket from Florida back up to West Virginia, so I could be there. I can't say that I did anything of value by being there. I really can't. And now, uh, I can't even. If a crisis hit our family, if God forbid one of my parents died or somebody ended up in the hospital, I would be I would just be another. I would either have to be completely absent or just be there. If I was there, I'd just be another burden. That's a hard thing to realize. This it's I never expected my body to betray me. I knew I was getting fatter as I got older. I was fighting a losing battle the entire way, but I could still get around. I could, I was 300 pounds and I could still hop up on a bicycle and pedal for 10, 20 miles. No lie, no lie. I'm not exaggerating. I could get around, and I could, if nothing else, I could, you know, physically contribute to, and labor or something. But then I turn, I hit my mid 30, and my legs started swelling, and they didn't stop. And now here I am. And I'm dirt poor. I have uh, I have vastly diminished options, to put it mildly. And I'm spending, at the most, I'm spending my time trying to convince the government that yes, I am disabled, and that I would really like my Social Security money back now, please. Thank you very much. Haven't even looked into that for several days. Gonna call the office tomorrow if I can remember to do it again, so I can, talk to his answering machine some more. I haven't been in church. I haven't been through the door of a church in at least 4 or 5 years. I'm not a member of any church. That upsets me too. Couldn't get through the door if I could. I've talked to my dad about, here's an idea, Dad. How about how about put the broadcast the sermons, the Sunday morning, Sunday evening service on YouTube. You can do it live, or you can record it, and he's about as much enthusiasm as if I'd handed him a dead rat. Yeah. Thanks, Dad, for picking up that clue there. You know, grab that hint. I shouldn't be so bitter about him. That isn't fair to him. He doesn't want to give the church building. He's a retired pastor now, so he doesn't really have that much say, I suppose. The very idea of putting an internet connection into the church building, he just He'd rather send out broken down buses and vans to try and haul critically ill people, people on oxygen tanks and shit. Bring them, 20 miles so that they can, sit in a church pew for an hour, and then haul them back home, because that's that's a much better system. This is a man. I don't think this man can comprehend what it's like to be in the position where you're physically, you're old, and you're disabled, and you're in ill health, and I don't think he can comprehend the indignity of it, of being hauled around like a dead bear brought back from a hunting expedition, lugged around like a whale at SeaWorld, just so that somebody can, oh, isn't it wonderful? Anyway, everybody, amen, they managed to drag her all the way back from her home, all the way across the county so that he could be here for morning service. Isn't it wonderful? Everybody gets a Johnny Feelgood, and the poor old man or lady gets to be a put-on exhibit. He'll record his services for one of the, we got a member of the church who worked. He had a member of the church that he worked a tugboat, of all things, on the Ohio River. Pushing them barges up and down. And he had to work most Sundays. So Dad didn't think a thing of recording the services and and handing them over to the guy whenever he showed up. Here, listen to these. But the idea of making them the services accessible to shut-ins. Somebody explain to me why I can't, why he can't, get on board with that idea. A webcam and a laptop, that's all they need. Somebody willing to put it on YouTube when they get home. Come on! The shame of having to go beg for help. For even the most simple things. This is why I put up with, I told you about the first guy that used to do odd jobs for me, mow my lawn and run to the grocery store, things like that. The reason I put up with him so long is because I was terrified he he quit even doing the crappy stuff he was doing. I was afraid he'd quit showing up, and then I'd be stuck again with nobody to help me. He took stuff from me and never gave it back. He flat out stole. He'd take my, and I've got pretty good evidence that he was, I'd give him my car and I'd say, "Would you go get this?" And he'd show up and the cart would be empty, and he wouldn't have half the things I asked him to get. He'd go off. I'd ask him, "Would you pick up some things at the grocery store?" "Oh, sure, no problem." And then he'd show up 3 or 4 days later. I put up with all that. Because I had nobody else. I can't be the only person in my situation here. I'm starting to understand why people get so mad at those thoughts and prayers posts. Even the Bible had something to say about that sort of thinking. So I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a passage. He says, what good? One of the apostles was writing. He says, "What good does it do you see a brother's hungry, thirsty, and naked? You say, you pat him, you walk up and say, bless you, be ye warmed and filled. What good have you done them?" Visualize world peace. I'd rather visualize your hair getting set on fire. Satisfying. It comes down to this. When I'm one of these people, I'm constantly whining, but at the same time, I am ashamed to go to certain people, ask them for help. I hate going to my parents asking for help. I hate going to my family asking for help. To my sister and her family, and Well, nowadays it's the Grim Reapers narrowed down the branches of the family quite aptly over the past few years. Most of the people that are left alive are the people that need help anymore. I'm just I'm just ashamed I couldn't, make it on my own. And even now, there's a part of me that keeps saying it. There's got to, there's got to be a way to, pull myself up out of this dive, out of this slump. I'm a terrible testimony. You know that? I'm a terrible testimony for the values that I hold. Autonomy, independence, self-reliance. I'm a pretty lousy testimony as far as spiritual matters go too. Faith, faithfulness, virtue. Just and just thinking about that. Just here. This is me. Going into a downward psychological spiral, even as I draw funny comics. Enjoy the ride, kids. You get a free hat and a barf bag. Let's talk about something else. I have an idea. Let's change the subject. To quote the Mad Hatter. Okay, now I'm going to ask, how many in the audience have watched My Hero Academia? I feel like I'm saying My Hero Macadamia every time I say it. Boku no Hero Academia. Is it the Boku no Hero Academia? Mitsubishi. Konnichiwa. Achong. That was German. Okay. Now, if you've watched season 1, I've watched season 1 and season 2. I don't know if season 3 is there. Have they gotten to the festival yet? I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. I know they've come out with a movie, but I haven't seen it yet. But I watched all 2 seasons, and I like the show. I love the show. I've got issue with their whole. The show runs on the premise that 80% of the world's population has some sort of superpower. Quote unquote superpower. They call them quirks. Because some of the powers aren't exactly super. And the thing of it is that it's supposed to be like 200 years in the future. After powers started developing, it's supposed to be like 200 years in the future. And they've passed laws that it is literally a crime to use your quirk in public. Not to commit not just to commit a crime or anything like that. It's a crime just to use your quirk in public. And I'm like, not even the Germans at their worst were that anal. Okay? Not even the Soviet Union was it. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with the writer? He just doesn't see the implications of passing a law where it's against the law to use a natural ability, even benignly, in polio. Basically, it's the equivalent of criminalizing, your ability to breathe. And don't give me this, oh, well, it makes sense in context. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense, period. You have a population of 80% of the population has paranormal abilities, ranging from the benign to superpowers, and you have to have a special license to be a hero, which is, in fact, a license to use your power at all. There's no saying, don't pass a law you can't enforce. That would be the most unenforceable law in existence, and it would result in thousands of people who had done nothing more than say, you got somebody who has the power to light a match with his fingers. He lights a cigarette in public and gets arrested by the police. Or you have somebody that, or worse, let's put it this way. You've heard the saying that gun control is the supposition that a 98-pound woman should have to fight off a 200-pound rapist with her bare hands. In this setting, the quirk laws are the supposition that an innocent woman should submit to her rapist rather than fight back at all. In fact, they have several scenes in the first couple of seasons where the kids are literally in danger for their lives, and they have to beg their teachers for permission to use their quirks. Because if they use their quirks, if they use their powers, even in self-defense against murderers, they could get in trouble with the law or even go to jail. And I want to grab the writer of this anime. I want to grab the writer of this manga by the nuts, twist as hard as I can, and say, what the hell's wrong with you? He's Japanese. That sums it up. Those people are so uptight and oppressed that they can't even spit sideways. Oh yeah, it's a sad thing. They got the nastiest porn on the planet, and when it comes down to it, they're so socially oppressed. It's pathetic. Racist as hell. They make the antebellum South look open-minded and broadly accepting. Let's put it that way. When it comes to other cultures, they literally have people. They literally have the subpopulations that have to register their origins because they're from this island and not that island. It's a mess, really. And they still try and pretend absolutely nothing happened during World War II. What rape of Nanking? What Bataan Death March? I do not know what you are talking about, Gaijin. And you can see it in subtle little ways. Interesting thing, you do business with them, as my father pointed out once. You go over to Japan to do business with them, and you're expected to observe their culture and their little niceties and their mannerisms and their social thises and that's, their social etiquette. You do everything the Japanese way. They come over here to do business, and you still have to do everything the Japanese way. At some level, everything everybody accuses Americans of thinking, the Japanese have a corner market on it. Okay, everybody accuses Americans of being racist against black people. No. The Japanese are racist against everybody who's not Japanese, and they're still kind of suspicious of each other for being from different districts of Japan. The Japanese, they talk about Americans being, ugly Americans abroad. The Japanese, anywhere they go, you're expected to, roll out the rice paper. The Americans we're accused of being imperialists. The Japanese still think that the map should center on Tokyo, the map of the world. Well, let's face it. You go to any culture. We're all kind of a-holes. You go anywhere, everybody's a little bit racist. It used to be that the bar to be called racist was set a little bit higher. You know what I'm saying? The bar to be called racist used to be set fairly high. As in, burning crosses on somebody's lawn. You're fairly racist. Yeah, we're pretty obviously racist right there. Calling Jewish people the descendants of monkeys that mated with pigs. Yeah, racist. But it's pushed to the point where you cannot legitimately criticize anybody or any culture at all. Even when that criticism is desperately needed. Not only deserved, but desperately needed. There's nobody that needs to hear you're an asshole more than an asshole. You've got an entire culture of a-holes. They need to hear it. And they need to be told it frequently until they're embarrassed about it. I meant to talk about My Hero Academia. I didn't mean to get on this subject. But branching back to the original subject, I like the show. But I have to constantly force myself to ignore the fact that any realistic portrayal of their quirk law system, that would not be a superhero setting. It would be a dystopia. Now you look at it, and any sort of interpretation, you have to come to the conclusion that the only way a system like that could be set up, when the vast majority of people have quirk powers at this point. It telegraphs, obviously, there was a point when there were very few people with superpowers. And that these laws, these quirk control laws, are a remnant of a horribly racist time against people who had powers. The equivalent of forcing forcing Jewish people to wear yellow stars on their clothes. And going by that law, you could interpret the fact that quirkless people are now regarded poorly as a backlash against the earlier racism of the quirkless majority in the past. Not to get too heavy about it or anything. But again, this is supposed to be set 200 years in the future. 200 years after quirks first started appearing. This should be the point at where the quirk laws are finally being overturned. A society like that could not function with the majority of with 80% of the population forced to walk around hobbled in public. To pander to some old, died-out racism. Now, oh heck, my dad is not no. Answering a earlier question, no, my dad is not afraid of modern technology. He was the first one to. He was on the internet long before I even knew what the internet was. Okay, his hobby used to be taking old computers and rebuilding them into new systems. Back in the old 286, 386, 40s. The really old ones. 1980s stuff. Of course, the technology has sort of galloped on ahead. He owns a quadcopter. He owns one of those quadcopters with the little camera on it and everything. That son of a gun could fly high enough that it brushes the edge of aerospace laws. He has to keep it below a certain altitude, or you can get in trouble with whoever's in charge of those things. I'm not sure where I was going with the Boku no Hero Academia discussion. If I ever get off, if I ever pull the thumb out of my butt and finish the next, write up a few more chapters of fan fiction, I'm going to be getting in trouble. You know that. I'm probably going to be getting in trouble because I'm going to be implying in the Warcrafter and in Ladybird that the prominently gay characters are either you know, it's going to be ambiguous, or they're not, or they're going to be straight. I just want to see if I can stir the pot. You know what I'm saying? They've got the original story Worm had several. Well, I don't know if you could. Well, several major characters that were either gay or implied to be gay. I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to say they're straight or imply that they are straight. Just to watch people squeal. Well, not just to watch them squeal. Look, if they can go, if these, look, every you take any other fanfiction, any other fandom, and you've got 1,000 fan fiction writers who are out there who are either implying they're writing up main characters as being bisexual or gay or pansexual or whatever is the retarded flavor of the week on Tumblr. Why? Because they make such a cute couple. You got retards out there that are writing up fan fictions where Hermione dates Draco. I'm like, you short bus helmet head uh, Down syndrome monkeys. She's a muggle born and he's a pure blood racist. That's the equivalent of writing a love romance between a Jew girl and a Nazi. Oh, but he's so dreamy. Grr! And everybody's trying to pull a Rowling, Everybody's trying to pull a J.K. Rowling. Well, of course, I always meant for him to be gay. Of course, it's obvious they're gay. They're gay for each other because they sit in the same bench in the park. Isn't it clear? It's all subtextual. Look, I'm sorry, and Boku no Hero. How many? I have lost count of the numbers. I look. Oh, this looks like it'll be an interesting story, and they list the pairings. And one of the things they have in some of these fan fiction collections is that they have all the relationships and pairings listed in the description. They have flag warning, trigger warnings, extreme violence, extreme heterosexuality, But they also have a list, lists all the different relationships that are going to appear in this story, and you got FM, MM, FF, WTF, Like, oh, please. Look, if you're a fan fiction writer, and the first thing you do is you start writing up gay and bisexual and lesbian relationships out of all these characters. No, you're not a great writer. You're not even a good writer. What you are is a horny dog humping a chair leg. You're gay for each other, I can tell. You're disgusting. Welcome to Sodom. Watch your ass. Ugh. It's gross. Okay. It drives me crazy. I mean, the pairings in My Hero Academia are so. I mean, pretty much stapled to the wall. Obvious. It's very, very, very obvious that Midoriya and Ochaka are supposed to be the lead, the lead hero and lead heroine, and they're, going to be a couple. You know, mile high neon letters. Even their faces are drawn in the same design. Same big eye, same. You get what I'm saying. Everything from the obvious to the subtle, from the way they're drawn, with similar facial features, to the way that they constantly interact with each other. But no, let's have him in a gay three-way with Bakugao and the bird guy. Yeah. Okay, now I gotta ask. Okay, how many people? How am I the only one who looked at Aizawa in the first couple episodes? Well, in any episode really. How am I the only one who looked at Eraserhead, Midoriya's homeroom teacher? Am I the only one who looked at Midoriya and how he conducted himself and conducted his first class and everything else that he's done since, and said this guy would be so fired if he was running a real, if he was a real teacher? Even in a military academy, they have standards. Am I the only one that looked at it and said, "Oh, for crying out loud"? I don't buy that whole. Well, he has to be tough because it's an elite program for raising. No bullshit. Okay, bullshit. There's a difference between being a tough teacher and just being a dick. You wouldn't let anybody from his background be a teacher either. I guarantee it. Let's take it from the top. Let's consider what he has done. Okay, you see what I'm talking about. Okay, first of all, he took his kid. He took an entire class. Now think about this. Canonically, over 1,000 kids. Over 1,000 kids took the entrance exam and the practical exam. The failure rate is listed as 1 student out of 300 gets into UA. His class is 20 kids. 1B is 20 more kids. So that means, let's see, 40 times 300. 1,200 kids took that entrance exam. The one where they had to battle the robots. They took the written exam and then they had to took the exam where the practical exam where they battled the robots. Those top 20 kids in his class, 1A and 1B, those top 40 kids are the cream of the crop. They literally went in and, frankly, risked life and limb to pass. And the first thing he did on the first day was threaten to expel one of them. Not for misbehaving, not for being, not for, anything, in fact, but based on how well they threw a ball. And this, in spite of the fact that all the physical tests they took in that quirk exam that he gave them, most of them, their powers had no application to them. How the heck does being invisible translate to being able to throw a baseball? Or to do a 100-meter dash? Or an endurance run? That's arbitrary petty, and it's canonical that he had in the past expelled an entire classroom of freshmen. An entire classroom, 20 first years. He basically ruined their lives on a whim. Getting expelled from a prestigious school isn't exactly a gold star on your forehead. And let's consider this. Eraserhead. Eraserhead's power is the ability to shut off other people's quirks. As long as he's looking at them, he can turn off their power. It turns right back on once he looks away, or even if he blinks, which is why he has red eyes all the time. and then he goes through eye drops like candy. Now consider this. He was a UA student at one point too. He's supposed to be 31 at the start of the series. So 15 years ago, 15 or 16 years ago, he took the entrance exam, and he would have bombed. He would have bombed because his power is useless against combat robots. In fact, in the evaluation test, in the practical exam, his power would have been worse than useless, because all it would have been good for is turning off other kids' powers and endangering them. So he had to have bombed out of the hero course, gotten back in on the general studies course, and then used the sports festival to claw his way back in to the hero class. Because all he had to do, to win the sports festival was basically, every person he fought against, all he had to do was look at them to shut them down. Now you got to figure that that's got to be one bitter SOB. To top it all off, he's supposed to be an underground hero, which means basically to All Might's Superman, he's basically Batman. He works in the dark. He works underground. He works with, from the shadows. He doesn't get the fame. He doesn't get the celebrity. He doesn't get the praise. In fact, he's not even very well known, except among, the really obsessed nerds. So you've got to figure he is an incredibly, if he's not an incredibly bitter man at this point, then he's got enough reason to be bitter that that it would have to be the explanation for his actions. Because flunking kids, just randomly deciding a bunch of first years, kids who are just starting to learn, and he decides, you've got no potential, out. That's got to be him on to some degree taking revenge against the world for the fact that he doesn't have a quirk that's flashy or more useful, or more universally practical. Yeah, he's, they have seen, where he fights to defend his students from the villains. Yeah, that means he's a good hero, or at least a decent one. That doesn't mean he's a good person or even a good teacher. Consider Endeavor. He's the number 2 hero. He's supposed to be the number 2 hero in Japan. He's also a child abuser and a wife beater. And the only reason he had his kids because he was breeding them to try and produce the perfect spawn to outdo All Might. And that's all his kids are to him. A project. Which he has abused and neglected so severely that his oldest son became a villain outright. And let's consider something, arbitrarily threatening to throw some random kid. He pitted his own class against each other and threatened to throw one of them to the curb. Just basically ruin their career, their future, their lives. Japanese kids have committed suicide over this. And then he takes one kid who he saw Midoriya use one for all. He saw Midoriya punch out that 0-pointer, and shattering his arm and his legs to do it. And what is his approach for teaching a kid who has a dangerous, incredibly powerful but dangerous quirk? He pushes and taunts him until the kid breaks his bones on a quirk test. What do you think would happen to a gym teacher who pushed a 15-year-old basketball player until he broke the bones in his hands doing layups, or snapped his thumb backward? Okay, you finally did it. You finally proved yourself to me. And that's insane. Any teacher like that, he would be thrown out of the front doors of a school so hard he would bounce twice before he stopped. What the hell, author? And I'm still waiting for somebody. I've seen a few fics where somebody steps up and confronts Eraserhead about his dickery. I remember reading one where he tried to go all drill sergeant. Oh, you think this is funny, Midoriya? And Midoriya looks him right back in the eye and says, oh yeah, let's see. You're going to decide whether we are worthy to be superheroes based on how we can throw a ball? That's the funniest damn thing I've heard all week. Can you imagine the uproar if a teacher... this isn't like, throwing out kids who are, in some, middling course. These are kids who are going to be capes, heroes, which are, in this setting, are the backbone of law enforcement in their country. Can you imagine the uproar from the alma maters if this teacher was constantly flunking kids out? Can you imagine the uproar if a teacher flunked out an entire generation of heroes, an entire year's worth of heroes right out of the gate? And what's worse is that he would have done it so that he could pick his personal favorites out of the Gen Studies course, rather than exerting the... Any teacher can do a great job so long as they're allowed to cherry pick what students they teach. That's the fatal flaw of the elite school syndrome. An elite school stays elite by picking the kids who will make them look the best. This is, a real teacher is one who can, you ever see the movie Stand and Deliver? There's a true story about a middle city teacher took a bunch of kids who were in remedial math. By the end of the year, he had them not only, up to par, but he had them doing calculus. And the kids were so ambitious, they were like, "This is great." They took they took a standardized test, and they got accused of cheating. The entire administration came down on them, and the kids, understandably pissed. They took the test again, and they passed it, and they got even higher grades. And so, the a-holes that, decided to give them grief all had to go home with eggs on their face. Any teacher can teach a class full of, gold star students. A great teacher is one that can take kids that are not nearly as promising on the front of it, and make something great out of them. And usually the only real difference between one kid and the other is that somebody believes in one of them and is willing to exert the effort. I do not like Eraserhead. He represents every petty, capricious, self-absorbed, petty dick of a teacher I've ever seen. I gotta say, it seems like every fandom, moving on, it seems like every fandom has one character that it is hip and trendy to hate. And My Hero Academia has Midoriya Manita. Maybe this is me. This is just me. I tend to want to adopt the characters that other people reject. I frankly thought in the prequels, in the Star Wars prequels, I thought Jar Jar Binks was the least annoying character. I'm sorry. Jar Jar Binks does not begin to compare to little Annie Skywalker. Are you an angel? My mommy says angels are the most beautiful creatures in the universe. I don't like sand. It's gritty and coarse and gets and everything. Oh, you poet of romance, you. Swear, listening to the guys, passing a kidney stone. But, Jar Jar Binks, Jar Jar stinks. My God, the poor amphibian's just trying. And then in my brain skipped a groove. No, you had Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars. You had Ron Weasley in Harry Potter. Most of Ron Weasley's unpopularity comes from the fact that the guy that made the movies was doing he wasn't doing a Harry Potter movie. He was doing a Hermione Weasley fan fiction, and he screwed Ron completely over. But I'm like, geez, I've seen fan fictions where Ron Weasley is turns out to be a pure blood bigot and joins the Death Eaters kind of thing. Ron the Death Eater, they call it. Good night. I think the people who write that story are just mad that Rupert Grint got to kiss the girl instead of them. Instead of them kissing the girl, I mean not Rupert Grint. But Ron Weasley and Harry Potter, and then there was I had another example I can't think of, but he's a character that everybody just dumped on. And the one for this show, the one for Boku no Hero Academia, I'm so anime. I say the proper name in Japanese. My Hero Academia. The one for that is Manita. He is the joke character of the show. He's the butt monkey. He's meant to be the butt monkey of the show, really. He's a shrimp. He's a runt. He's barely 3 feet tall. Compared to the others, he's about 3.5 feet tall. He's basically a midget, and his power is detached. He instead of hair, he grows these purple globes on his head, and if he picks one, he can pull one off, and a new one will grow in its place, and he can throw them, and they will not stick to him, but he can make them stick to anything else. He's basically a joke power, but he managed to leverage it to the point where he made it through the practical exam, and he's smart enough. In fact, according to the canon, he is the fourth. He's number 4. He's fourth in the heroes program for grades. So he's fairly smart, but he's also he's the joke pervert character. He's constantly trying to peep on the girls, and he's always making inappropriate comments about the girls, and so on and so forth, and and the girls girls are constantly getting mad at him and just beating the crap out of him. The usual pervert, joke pervert character that you see in literally every anime. But for some reason, Manita, I guess bad timing. It's the dawn of the dinosaurs. The Bichosaurus Rex, the Femidactyl, the Social Justisaurus are rising above the primeval swamp and trampling everything in their path. And poor Manito was in the path. It's just terrible. He just screaming. Writers. Usually the ones that are writing these 15 different gender relationships in their stories are also the ones screaming bloody murder about. Oh, he's a sexual harasser. He's a grapist. He's clever pun. Oh ho ho. and he's a pervert, he's a demon, he's a freak, he's a sexual monster, he's a harasser, and he's oppressing the women, and just hating on him in every way they possibly have, and the people that write the fan fictions they usually have him getting caught cheating and being thrown out of school or being expelled on the first day, like Eraser had threatened to, or any one of a number of things, just as long as it's horrible and it happens to Manita. Not to say, not to imply any approval of his constant perving, but that's kind of the point of the character. He's growing as a character slowly, very, very slowly. But his purpose as a character initially, he was supposed to be the whipping boy for bad behavior. These women don't get it. These outraged, offended, and frightened feminists who, they see a joke character in anime and they have to go and cry in a corner and hold a candlelit vigil and sing "Candle in the Wind" or something. They don't quite get the point. Okay, that's kind of the point of a character like Manita. He's there because his point is to be, he's supposed to say something inappropriate. The girls come over and beat the crap out of him for it, and everybody laughs at him for being such a pathetic pervert. Which one is more? Think about it this way: which one is more respectful of how strong and independent a woman can be? A scenario where the character is a joke perv, he says something pervy, does something pervy, the girls come over, kick the crap out of him, and then go on about their lives. Or the scenario where he's a terrifying ogre and all the girls are weeping in misery and fear because he's making their lives so. Oh, he's such an ogre and a monster. And they need the big brave establishment to come in and rescue them from this horrible cisgendered deviant toxically masculine, so to speak, this male pervert, and they need and they need the establishment to come in and save them from Manita, the horrible rapist. Which one portrays the women as strong? You tell me. Hmm? And like I said, the character, he was there to be the butt monkey. He was there to be the joke perv and to get punished for it routinely. And he is. He gets knocked off of he gets knocked off of fences, punched through walls, gets his eye poked out, gets smacked in the face at random intervals. I also note that he's not the only pervy character in the cast. The other one, Yarmo Camarina. I can't remember his name. But he's the electric one. They both rather pervy teenage boys. But the electric guy gets a pass. Nobody talks about what a perv he is. Why? Well, because he's not as ugly. He's not as ugly as Manita is. Let's be truthful. He's usually a partner in crime for everything Manita does. And of course, we note the fact that there are several female characters, pro-hero characters, who are just outrageous perverts themselves. There's Midnight. This is her little name. Midnight, the R18 rated heroine, which is translate X-rated in American. Her power is that she emits a pheromone from her skin that knocks people out. It works much more effectively on men. So she wears a bondage gear stripperific outfit with tearaway patches. Most of it is tearaway, let's put it that way. She prances around in stiletto heels and waves around a riding crop or a bullwhip, and is constantly making lewd innuendo remarks about the students, especially the young males. Oh, but she's acceptable. And it brings you back to the point, Manita, everybody's dumping on Manita, but everybody's forgetting that Manita is a product of his environment. Hello? He lives in a society where that kind of heroin is perfectly acceptable. As a school teacher. Then there's Mount Lady. She can grow to giant size. In her first appearance in the first episode, this was supposed to be her big debut, battling another giant-sized villain. And the first thing she did after the battle was waggle her ass for the cameras and make the terrible joke, "Pleased to make your ass acquaintance." And later in the show, it's revealed she's obsessed with beating out Miss Midnight, for the most popular female heroine in the typical way that such female heroines do. Which one ever has the hottest bod? So, excuse me, hello? Why is nobody saying anything about this? Why is nobody saying anything about this? Hello? They're crapping all over Midoriya. Gee, I wonder why this poor pathetic teenage boy is the way he is. I can't fashion a guess. Can you? And final note, I can't help but feel a little bit of pity for the kid. If he's given, if the writers give him a chance, and if they actually make an effort to make him grow a little bit, by the finals arc, he actually does develop just a little bit. What is he states his motivation for being a hero is that he wants girls to like him. He wants to be famous and for girls to like him. That may not be the most noble of causes for being a hero, but the universe doesn't give a damn about your intentions. The only thing that matters to the universe is what you do. If you're in a burning building, you don't care whether the guy driving the fire truck is there because he's nobly heroic, or if he's there just for a job, and a paycheck. You're just happy to see him. That is 1,000 times more important than what his motivations are. That he's there. And it's worth noting that of all the ways he thought of to find for girls to like him, he settled on being a hero. That's not so screwed. A teenage boy wanting girls to like him. That's not so screwed up, really. He's got zero, mouth to brain filter, and he's got mountains to learn about treating women with respect. But that's the point of a story arc. And let's consider him. He's a dwarf. He's literally a midget. He's about 3 foot tall. Actual measurement, this is what they give is actually 3.5 feet tall, depending on the globes on his head. But he's a dwarfish little runt. Have you seen how women treat short people, short guys? Have you realized most popular Tumblr entry? Ew, no short guys. Girls think nothing. Girls throw a fit if you say no fat chicks. No fat chicks. Ah! But, God, Almighty help you if you are under 5.5 feet tall. There are girls out there who say nobody less than 5'8". I won't date a guy that's less than 5'8" tall. I'm like, look, Hippodrome, I can't get any taller. You can sure put down the cheeseburger once in a while. So which of us is being more unfair here? But here's Midori. Here's Manita. Here's Manita. He is a runty shrimp. He's probably as tall as he's going to get the rest of his life. He's supposed to be 15 or 16 and he's only 3 foot tall. He's got a joke power in a world where your value as a person is judged by what kind of superpower you have. Can you imagine what it'd be like going through puberty like that? There would be a certain point where you'd probably reach a point where you say, I give up. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't care. Nothing. I could be Casanova. And, I could be the greatest romantic lover in the world, and these girls wouldn't look at me except to laugh at me or to hold their nose. So why am I being a gentleman for these pigs? Not to be nasty about it, but why am I bothering? Why bother trying? Why bother trying? Why bother trying to obey all the rules and jump through all the hoops if they're going to go no matter what you do, and why run the race when you're going to be disqualified for being too short, too ugly, or for not having a cool enough power. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering if that isn't supposed to be going on in the back of his mind. I just thought of it in a couple other characters. My Little Pony. I've always felt sorry for Snips and Snails. The first two, specifically, the first two prominent male characters other than Spike. And they were deliberately drawn, one, ugly, and written, two, stupid. I remember reading a fan fiction where they, you remember the episode, the first Cutie Mark episode where poor little Apple Bloom went through all that social trauma at Diamond Tiara's Cutie Sonera. I read another fan fiction that wrote the same, that same day from Snips and Snails perspective. A couple of the girls, they had plucked up their courage and asked a couple of the girls, the little fillies, if they would go to the party with them. And according to in the fan fiction, they had gotten all spiffed up and everything, and then they'd shown up to meet their dates, and they got stood up. And so they went to the party, and there were the girls, and they all stood around and laughed at and all the kids stood around, laughed at him for thinking that anybody would go out with them. And one of them even say, looks Snips right in the face and say, "Who would go out with an ugly little troll like you?" And the real heartbreaker line, there was a line there that just absolutely broke your heart. It said that even the kids in the back who weren't participating in the jeering didn't say anything. It was only Snips and Snails, so who cared? I never quite forgave. I never quite forgave the writers for doing, not the writers of the fan fiction, but the writers of the show for what they did to Snips and Snails, because it was misandric right from, it was misandric to a fault. The first two male characters, and it was written with the apparent motto of "boys are ugly and stupid, throw rocks at them." I used to know how to. I think I've always got a soft spot for the unlovely characters. I do. Uh, I went through. Uh, I went through a childhood like that. You know, an unlovely childhood. I was never the popular kid. I was never. And I was one of the unwanted ones, you know. And Greg Vader from Worm. That's another character. He barely appears in the canon story, except for Taylor to notice that he's another outcast like her, and she doesn't really care for him being around. But the hate on that character receives is unbelievable. You just want to round up some of these people. You can't, you really don't see it, do you? You really don't see yourself in the mirror these days, do you? I'm sorry I felt quiet there for a minute here. Just finishing up this next page. I'm dragging a lot of mileage out of this sexual innuendo thing, you know? Come on. Oh, save. File save as. PNG. Plans for the next fanfic chapters. Okay, well, let's see. I'm still a little stumped on what to do next with Warcraft. I think it's more of a rounding up the posse chapter. Another rounding up the posse chapter. Hello. Let's see who else is in here. Let's see. We got there's a thingy here. Participants. Here we go. Okay, we got Ben Shakar, Mr. Cartoon Critic, and me. And for a moment there, we had somebody named Freedy. For some reason, it's not showing in our thingy.
It's not showing in the thingy.
Let's see. The Warcrafter. It's going to be another couple of chapters of. Probably another chapter of rounding up the posse. You know, for this next project. Which is the Endbringer Slayer. The Warcrafters' plan is to have there's going to have the big assembly, the big seminar now, but they want to have a working model of the weapon ready long before that. You know, they want to get a jump on the enemy. And possibly peeking in on just how badly things are unraveling for Cauldron. Among other things, Cauldron had the villain, the Numbers Man. The Numbers Man was basically a international banker for heroes, vigilantes, and villains. He was also responsible for manipulating the world's stock markets and just basically diddling around with everybody's economy, for the greater good of Cauldron. And now that he's dead, with a buzzsaw through his head, Contessa has had to cover for him. And she, despite her, she is busier than a centipede with poison ivy, trying to use her power to do what he did naturally. Also, we're going to get a little peek in on China and the Yangban. The members of the Yangban were there at Canberra and one of them stole one of the bands, one of the armbands that they used for the Simurgh attack. Now, if you'll remember, the armbands at Canberra had a special addition to it. Basically, it was a Simurgh blocker. It prevented the Simurgh from taking over people's minds. And it also obstructed her precognitive abilities. Now, the kicker is that the Yang band, China wants this band. Obviously, they're still in an arms race with the rest of the world to give themselves a leg up. Unfortunately, what they don't realize is that the armband doesn't just the armbands and headbands, they don't just block the Simurgh. They block all forms of mind manipulation and mind control. And the Yang band are kept under control of the government by, you guessed it, mind control. And so the members of the Yang band who smuggled this Tinker Tech out of Australia have discovered this for themselves, that they're able to think freely again. And they are not telling their keepers this salient little fact. You can guess just how badly things are going to go for the ruling party of China when the members of the Yang band get home. It's going to be very red and very messy, and a great number of tyrants are going to do a startlingly good imitation of 200 kilos of strawberry jam. Now, in Lady Bird, we got to get Greg Vader's feet under him, or his hooves. So it's going to be basically a chapter of, basically Taylor, giving him a kickstart, basically give him a swift kick where he needs it. And then proceeding to make all sorts of interesting and surprising new headaches for people. The Brockton Bay group was the last that made it through. And after the barricade went down, everybody moved in to try and help out with the aftermath. So, there you have it. The Yang band are in China, and China's fairly close to Australia, so you got to figure they were there the soonest. Or among the soonest. Now, as for my other stories, the Great Alicorn Hunt, really not sure where I'm going to go with that one. I've only got vague ideas. I'm thinking a couple of chapters to check in on the other characters before I go back to to Twilight Sparkle. If I ever write the chapter or get back to it. I've got other ideas knocking at the back of my brain that I'm going to put in oddments. I've been sort of noodling over the idea of another crossover between My Little Pony and Boku no Hero Academia. I've also toyed with the idea of a crossover between the Warcrafter and Boku no Hero Academia. It would be sort of set after the story in Worm is done. This is a big spoiler. This is a big spoiler. Eventually, the Lost Workshop is going to live up to its name. In order to save it from, during a massive attack, uh, the members of the Warcraft of the Alliance, they're going to shift it sideways into a pocket dimension. They're basically going to put it in limbo. And the premise is that after the events of the Warcrafter are done, the Lost Workshop basically becomes another one. This is the next project for their agents. Is that the Lost Workshop is going to become one of those mysterious little Chinese shops that you've seen the plot device with the wandering shop that appears out of nowhere and has either a cursed item that punishes the protagonist for their hubris, or just the right magical or mysterious doodad to help the hero accomplish his quest. I think the premise is called the Chinese Curiosity Shop. I forget what it's called. The trope. But the Lost Workshop is basically going to become one of those shops, and it's basically going to be like Howl's Moving Castle. The doors are going, it's the doors, the castle. It's the Lost Workshop is basically going to be in limbo, and the doors are going to open in various other worlds, depending. And one of the places it's going to open up on is Boku no Hero Academia. My Hero Academia. Don't ask me why I insist on saying Boku no Hero Academia. And of course, a pre all one for all Midoriya is going to walk through the front door of the Lost Workshop, and Tattletale's going to take one look at him, and she's going to tell the others, if you don't help, if you don't give that adorable little green-haired cinnamon bun everything he wants or needs, I'm never speaking to the rest of you ever again. And so they send him on his way with something other than one for all to give him a chance to be a hero. And the possibilities are endless. I could probably write 2 or 3 different premises just from that. 2 or 3 different fan fictions just from that premise. But I was also thinking of, I've also had an idea flitting around the back of my head, the idea of a My Little Pony, My Hero Academia crossover, similar to the one done in Lady Bird. general premise, Midoriya is born. Midoriya is born quirkless. He's bullied. He wants to be a hero. He meets All Might. He inherits One for All. He goes to the entrance exam. He battles the Zero Pointer robot and gets horribly injured. And that's when Celestia and Luna intervene. They've been bored and watching a lot of interdimensional TV. What can I say? And they see this. They see the poor little Midoriya, the adorable little green-haired cinnamon bun, horribly mangled, and they promptly say, "Okay, we're moving in on this one." The thing of it is, he already has. They decide to grant him the power of an alicorn. Full. They're going to take out all the stops this time. Because they see at what level he's got to work at. But the thing of it is, they turn him into an alicorn, but it interacts oddly with One for All. So he doesn't turn into an alicorn, he turns into an earth pony. And he discovers that he can turn into, if at times of great stress, he can change form. He can turn from an earth pony into a unicorn, from a unicorn into a Pegasus, from a Pegasus to a sea pony to a crystal pony, and so on. Because he's because the alicorn power merged with One for All, it's taken to the nth degree. He's not just representative of all of the three main tribes. He's a representative of every pony tribe, and he can change back and forth from one to the other as he needs. But he hasn't quite got control of it yet, so. I can almost see you people are just sort of looking at me askance, like, he's one of those bronies, isn't he? He's one of these bronies. Oh Lord, he's not contagious, is he? No. Is anybody listening? Did anybody hear any of the last 10 minutes? Nobody's commenting. Nobody's talking. Please, give me some feedback. Give me some love. Talk to me. Why for you all do this to me? Okay. Well, what do you think of the idea? Oh, well. Well, you can't please everybody, Freedy. I know that much. Sometimes it seems like you can't please anybody. I'm gonna see new post. Oh, by the way, J. Riley McCool, the lady that I talk about on the front page of my website, J. Riley McCool, things are not looking good for her. They hauled away her trailer. She put it in storage. Rather than have them haul it off and impound it. But she right now she is literally living in a tent. So one step forward, two steps back, and then they're stepping on her toes. Uh, the homeless the homeless action people aren't answering her phone calls. It's just bad noise all the way around. My prayers lately have been, God, please give this woman a break. Been praying for a few breaks myself. The lawnmower people came out and well, I finally broke down and had Task Easy come out and do my lawn mowing. By the time they came out, after all the rain we've been having through here, the grass was over 4 feet high. I didn't have grass. I didn't have a lawn. I had a savanna. That's not even a good name for it. I had the beginnings of a small jungle. Weeds and pigweed that was 4 or 5 feet high, and it was a mess. They came out and they hit me. They hit me for $260. It's a real bitch of a thing because they come out there, and if they see that it's overgrown, they'll call back in and say we need more money. And either you say yes and they mow it, or say no or argue with it and they go home and you're left with your yard. So what are you going to do? I had to have it cut because I was pushing dangerous boundaries here on what was acceptable in yard conditions. But they did everything. They chopped everything down. Man alive. They whacked me. They whacked me. The normal rate is like 40 or $50 for a lawn my size. Now I sent off my last 100 or so to. I sent off $100 to my landlord for this month because that's pretty much what I had left. And it never stops. It's always something. Every time I turn around anymore, there's something else that's going tits up. Pardon my language. Okay, the new Nip and Tuck is posted. I've really got to change the layout of this page. I have no clue where to begin, though. No clue where to begin. But, My Hero Academia. Oh well. There's several different arcs. Okay. It's just a story of a young man learning to become a hero. I don't know what you're asking for. What's the end game? Oh, you want to complain about something that doesn't have an end game? Go bark at Dragon Ball Z. Next, this same time next week, another hero that is impossibly more powerful than our protagonist, so they'll train the crap out of themselves and then beat him in the face. Or One Piece. I looked at One Piece and I'm like, even in the fan fictions, you're going, oh, like there's 150 chapters of this. He's going to be the king of all the pirates, yay! And he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Yeah, well, it became Dragon Ball XYZ, then it became Dragon Ball Zippity Doodah, then it became Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball 2 Electric Boogaloo. You know, ended my arse. They just change the suffix every few hundred chapters. I remember one guy saying that he was out of the room once while one of his kids, one of his kid brothers was watching Dragon Ball Z, and he came running back in because it sounded like the kid was watching Japanese porn. I remember watching several episodes of that on TV years and years and years and years ago. You know, like, oh man, every episode is like, they're building up their power, they're building up more power, and next chapter, next episode, they're building more power. You know, it's, it's chapter after episode after episode after episode. And I'm like, you're killing me, Japanese people. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z actually ended. Now if it would only die. I just recently realized that Bakugao from My Hero Academia, the loudmouth explosive bully, he's a parody of Naruto. He is. He's, spiky yellow hair, screams all the time. He makes explosions all over the place and is constantly ranting and raving about how he's going to be number one. What difference would they make in My Hero Academia? Just for the hell of it, just for the fun of it, just setting up Midoriya with a power that doesn't make his bones shatter every time he uses it. My lord. I read a really excellent. I've been reading a really excellent fan fiction crossover between My Hero Academia and the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man. Basically, after the end of Endgame, when Spider-Man, gets disintegrated, he wakes back up. He's in Japan, in the world of My Hero Academia. and he becomes a student at the academy. And it's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun to read, rather. Mount Lady ends up becoming his foster parent. And he absolutely drives Eraserhead crazy, because Eraserhead, he can't stand how Spider-Man prattles on and jokes around and doesn't seem to be taking anything seriously. So, not all, there are a couple of little things in My Hero Academia that could stand a tweak, I think. Like I say, fan fiction, all fan fiction is to some degree fiction. Because the writer, people who write fan fiction are basically saying, oh, this would be so much better if, and going from there. Whether it's a small premise or a large one. But I just kind of like the idea of Midoriya showing up as a cute little green pony, and Bakugo Kachan just having a complete meltdown. He finds out that Midoriya beat him in the entrance exam, and he goes there. He's ready to, he's all, I'm going to challenge. I'm going to be number one. I'll put him in his place. And in through the door walks a little green pony with a curly mane. I just pictured Kachan going, what is this? What is my life? Some things you just do just for the cute. You know what I'm saying? And don't tell me you don't look at how Izuku Midoriya literally just smashes himself to pieces over and over and over again. And in fact, by the end of the second season, it's pretty clear that he's in danger of losing the use of his arms because he's broken the bones so often. You look how he's literally slamming his poor body against a brick wall, trying to reach his goals and accomplish his dreams, and you're going, won't somebody give this poor kid a break? And not an arm or leg this time, please. And he's a cinnamon bun, his character he's just a flat out cinnamon bun. He's a whoopee. The dynamic between Katsuki and the dynamic between Bakugao and Midoriya, it does crop up a lot in cases of bullying and abuse. It is almost a codependent relationship, because the victim will hang around the bully and let the bully beat up on them sometimes, just so that they have some sort of attention. It's a very dysfunctional relationship when that happens. They'd rather have a friend that beats them up constantly than have nothing at all. Oh well, the fact that he's willing to suffer, his obscene pain tolerance level, and the fact that he's willing to sacrifice and suffer for what he believes in. Yeah, that's great. That doesn't mean that if you saw somebody doing that, you wouldn't be going, oh, if you saw somebody in real life suffering like that, you'd be going, yeah, it's noble of him that he's willing to suffer like that, but he shouldn't have to. And the thing of it is that most of the damage he does to himself in the first season or two, the first season at least, is simply because it's dragged out. It takes him literally forever to figure out the most obvious things about the power he's inherited. Like, concentrating it all in one part of your body is kind of a bad idea. And nobody points out the obvious to him. And everybody around him seems to be perfectly fine with him smashing himself to pieces like this. And nobody's going, crap, kid, stop. In fact, his homeroom teacher literally pushes him and taunts him until he shatters his own finger for a stupid ball throwing test. That's kind of a horrifying level of bad teaching right there. It's not the fact that he suffers that makes him great. It's the fact that he's willing to suffer. The fact that he does suffer makes it a less than acceptable scenario, You see him go through all these ordeals. Many of them are completely unnecessary. And all because the people who are supposed to be helping him can't get their thumb out of their butt. He shatters 3 of his 4 limbs. Turns the bones to peanut brittle. And the very next day, the teachers are giving him shit. Well, you're not pushing hard enough. Dude, I ruptured every limb in my... I ruptured half the bones in my body. What do you want? Most of the I've noticed most of the problems that the characters suffer in anime like this, or in TV shows like this, that have serial stories. Most of it is the simple fact is that the writers drag things out. They drag things out. Characters keep secrets when when it makes no sense for them to do so. They have important information to impart to each other, and nobody will spit it out. there's some important MacGuffin that they need to find, and they put off even looking for it, until like the ninth of 10 episodes. Crap like that. I'm sorry, that just strikes me as poor writing. Largely because everybody does it, and after the 500th variation of nobody can tell each other the important secret that would solve all their problems in 5 seconds. It is just. I love that. I find it particularly interesting about My Hero Academia is that Midoriya is basically this super genius when it comes to analyzing superpowers, quirks, their strengths, their weaknesses, the strengths and weaknesses and personalities of the heroes using them, so on and so forth. But even though he's supposed to be this, it takes an entire season. It takes an entire season for him to figure out the very first thing, the very first thing about One for All. And the thing of it is that his mentor doesn't teach him diddly squat about it. You figure this power has been handed down. It's supposed to have been handed down from 8 generations, and now here's Midoriya number 9. Somebody, why didn't somebody write something down? You know, why didn't somebody pass some notes along? But no, he's Midoriya is having to figure this out all by himself, all out of the blue, as if it had fallen out of the sky on him anyway. And again, it comes down to the fact that neither of them sits down, and corners the other and goes, I've got some questions. I hate the just spit it out trope. I do. I hate it because it's the flimsiest hook you could hang a plot device on. It really is. And and you're sitting there watching this, and you're going, "This person could help you if you would just talk to them." But no. Yeah. Well, considering canonically All Might could throw a punch hard enough that the air blast would level half a city block, he probably really didn't have that far to dig. I haven't read the manga. No, I have not read the manga. I've watched the anime. I watched the anime. I know about some of the arcs that are coming up in the anime in the manga. The little girl named Eri, who's been kidnapped by villains, and she's being used as a, basically an ingredient in anti-quirk weapons. She's a very popular whoopee in the fan fictions too. So I've read several fan fictions I've read several fan fictions and am reading several fan fictions where Midoriya rescues her and basically becomes her basically her foster parent or her big brother. Yeah, very fluffy story. For all the action and drama, it is very it's adorable. You know what gets me about Todoroki? Todoroki, the one who's half fire, half ice. His power is half fire, half ice. He hates his father, Endeavor. Hates him because Endeavor is a cold-hearted bully and a child abuser and a wife beater, and he's basically made Todoroki's life, entire life, miserable. And his brothers and sisters miserable, and they all hate him. And so Todoroki is going with this convoluted plan where he only uses the half of his quirk he inherited from his mother to do everything. The ice power, right? Because he wants to ruin his father's dream of ever becoming because his father's dream was to produce an heir that would surpass All Might, since he can't do it himself. And by not using his fire, he thwarts his father and everything, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, if you really wanted to ruin your father, if you really wanted to get even with your father, all you'd have to do is wait until the sports event. Go to the news. All you'd have to do is go to the nearest newscaster with the nearest news crew. Stand there and tell them, "Oh, by the way, my father's an abusive dick," on live camera. My father, all he'd have to do is pull a Mach 1. Now you remember in the Great Alicorn Hunt, Mach 1 got revenge on his uncle for when he was like 5, because his uncle basically used him as a prop, threw a fake birthday party for him, and he promptly, he stood up there and said, one of the news people at news ponies asked him, what do you want for what do you wish for? And he said, I wish I wasn't a cripple. I wish my parents weren't dead, and I wish I wasn't living with my dick of an uncle. Pardon my language, but that's basically what he said. And I'm like, Todoroki, you're making this way too hard on yourself. Yeah, I know about them. There being 8 extra quirks in it. Well, actually, there should be 7, because All Might did not have a quirk of his own, and neither does Midoriya. So 9 generations, subtract 2, 7. I do know that I do know about that. All for One, One for All has extra quirks to unpack. And still, my point is they drag ass, of the whole thing. They got, they don't know, it's an Americanism, I suppose. Americans, as an American, we're used to resolutions that come around within a half hour to an hour and a half. Beginning of the movie, middle of the movie, end of the movie. We don't want to have to watch 20 movies. Usually we don't. To see the end resolution of a single storyline. Now, the Marvel Universe is an exception. But it is of note that each of the movies is still self-contained. Beginning, middle, end. If every movie in the Marvel continuity, if the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if every movie had been, to be continued, people would have and given up on it after movie 3. I never understood people that watch soap operas for that reason. Because there's never any resolution. The story never ends. The plot never ends. The plot never, no plot line reaches a resolution. It just goes on and on and on, and it never cuts off. I remember one TV series that was on for a very brief time in the very early 80s. It was called Cliffhanger, and there were like it was an hour long, and there were like 3 or 4 shows that were going on at the same time. Each one you'd get about 15 minutes. There was one about one of the movies was a Dracula story. One of the others was about a couple of Wild West cowboys who discover an underground kingdom, futuristic underground kingdom. One of them was about a lady who was a pre-Indiana Jones type safari heroine who was trying to find out who murdered her father. And each episode would end on a cliffhanger. And wouldn't you know, we watched that entire Blippin series. We watched the entire Blippin series. And then, I forget why, but we missed the last episode. We missed the last episode. We never saw the conclusions of all those storylines. Oh, I was ready to kill. I wanted to die. Well, Freddie, I don't know what you're expecting us to talk about. If you've got a problem with people who watch My Little Pony or anything, I feel sorry for you, son. Don't know what you're waiting for us to talk about. We talk about anime, we talk about TV shows, we talk about comic strips, we talk about fan fiction, we talk about silly little cartoons. Don't know what you're expecting. Not much I can do for you, brother. Oh my. My throat's starting to give out. Uh, I had to talk about for about. I've been talking. It's been about 3.5 hours. Uh, Managed to get one whole comic strip done. Whoopee doodle. Nip and Tuck. Nip and Tuck has a new entry in TV tropes under Destructo Nookie. I take great amusement in that. Destructo Nookie. What a trope. But anyway, let's see here. Achim. Mm, 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 mm. I really need a new work. I really need a new chapter of Warcrafter up. Got people who's space battle. Start. Sufficient velocity is saying this thread has been this thread has been unupdated for 31 days, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. A chapter index. Let's see here. It's scary. You got fan fictions out there that are like 10, 20 chapters longer, several thousand words longer than the original source material. It's a different world, A book that long would be unthinkable. It'd also be unsellable. You'd need an entire shelf for just the first volume. It'd be wider than the book would be thicker than it was wide. You know, mm. Mm. Okay. I'm just checking a couple of things here. Um, 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 um. Oh my. Let's see here. Pulling off this. Shutting down that. TV tropes. Let's see. Alright. Oh, by the way, the background noises, the sound effects, those are from mynoise.net. They have several different noise machines. This is the Star Trek Enterprise background thing here. Yeah, I can turn different things up here. It's got little nifty things here. Isn't that cool? A selection box error when you made the spleen squeezings text. Bit of a line next to the Q. I don't know where I don't see where you're seeing a line. Nah, whatever. Teeny little fleck. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. La 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 la. Oi. Wow, that is incredibly annoying. I think I'll find something different for next time. They got all sorts of things here. He got all sorts of computer diddly whatchamajiggers. All right. Okay, I'm up. Yeah. I've officially run out of things to talk about. Yay! I've also officially started to lose my voice. Yay! Excuse me, miss. How long have you been smoking? Oh, only it's about 5 or 10 years. And when did you start? When I was 15. Oh my. Okay, it has been 3 hours, 3 and 3/4 hours. Okay, I think that I'm going to call it a night for tonight. Got the strip updated. Got a strip updated. got a few other things to take care of, but feel like I gargled sandpaper. For those of you who'd like to if you'd like to help keep us on the air, you could would be greatly appreciated if you'd stop by our webpage, www.rhjunior.com. Make a donation just hit the PayPal button and make a donation. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much for those of you who do contribute. You keep us alive. What can I say? Now, I will see. Good grief. I will see you all tomorrow night. You all take care of yourselves, and hopefully we'll pick up from there. Try and get a little bit more done tomorrow night. Tomorrow morning too. Y'all have a nice night. God bless y'all.